trying to be.
We are live. Veronika, you're supposed to dance.
It sounds like we're like a video game or something. I love it.
We're a mix between a video game and porn.
After hours review, yeah, you're gonna review a bunch of things on the review time. It's a time for now for music and interviews and substance. What we gonna do? We gonna take this. We're gonna drink a glass and clack it to the camera and everybody back. Yeah. Hello.
What an amazing introduction from Rob. I love it. Thank you. Welcome, everyone.
We wouldn't give anything less.
Thank you. Welcome, Melissa. Welcome, Rob. We have Melissa and Rob here with us from VBT. Welcome. Thank you for being with us. I don't even want to go into what VBT is because you guys can explain it better than me. So how about we start off with you guys just explaining who you are.
Cold open, cold beers, and cold questions. Woo.
Hell yeah.
That is still like my favorite thing that I've ever said.
I love it. Did you just say that for the first time before, or is that a thing you say all the time?
No, that's I guess I'm original.
That was the first of that? Excellent. Yeah. After Hours Review, home of cold opens and cold beers.
And cold beer.
I love it.
Good luck with us tonight. Good luck with us tonight.
Yeah.
Rob, tell them about VBT.
Sure. Yes. It's funny that you asked that question. Just like, yeah, like tell us, like, you know, like what's the deal with this kind of VBT? And the first thing that came to my mind is just like, well, every time that people ask us this question about what VBT is, and you know what we're doing and stuff, it's an answer that changes every week that we do this.
That was literally going to be my answer.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's VBT has been something that's been like constantly evolving from the moment that it started and continuing even to this day. Like when VBT kind of got underway when Melissa and I were like kind of like tangentially like working together. Like she was like acting as a consultant for me for like for like a business that I've been trying to start, 5i Sound Design. And then from there it worked into, oh hey, we should definitely be doing events, and oh, we should run a virtual open mic, and oh, let's bring the community together. And now we're running a 2-day 36-hour fundraiser, and and having assortment of all different types of vendors, performers, sponsors, media production people. It's a whole ordeal, and that's like probably the shortest answer that I could give you. And if you want me to give you a long answer, first I'd like to just point out that cold. I forget what Veronika said, but it was great.
Cold beer.
So, Melissa, what can you add to that a little?
What was that?
So, what can you add to that?
No. VBT. What was the original question? Is what is VBT? Is that what you said?
Yeah, in the simplest terms.
I mean, in the simplest terms, VBT is. I'm gonna use my analogy that I always use. VBT is an art piece. It's a quilt. It is this evolving, breathing art piece of all of our community members coming together and being spotlighted for what they do and the way that they do it. We don't take their content and try to turn it into our brand. We don't try to make any sponsor, any artist be something that they're not. Like, we just want to take you, and we're like a conduit, and we're just like, hello, beautiful world, here is this beautiful person, organization, artist, etc. We present them to you, and we're doing it on a platform that is readily accessible and easy to share and can be broadcasted literally anywhere.
Wow. That was actually the best explanation I feel like I've heard. Because I mean, we always do band interviews where we can like easily say like this band is a pop punk band or this is this, and we know what you've done. But to have a nonprofit like you guys where we can't just very easily verbatim spit out what the band is and what their discography is, it's nice to be able to hear true, genuine words like that. I don't know. I don't like when I have to be the one to start it because I feel like I'm just saying what sounds nice. It's like I like that you guys really, you could tell just by those words how much you guys actually care about this.
Thank you. And everything about VBT has been organic. Everything, and I think that's why it's so easy to talk about. I think it's why I'm never nervous when we do an interview. It's why we just have fun. I mean, even when we're tired, we're still having fun. Rob and I are shot. I can't even see
Entirely.
straight. Like, I shouldn't even have the one beer that I'm having. I'm exhausted.
I
Oh
feel
yeah,
my
we kind of peer
consciousness
pressured you into
phasing
that. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, like, we just kind of black in and out a little bit. But, like, literally, it's so organic to us, and it started so organically that talking about it is easy. Even though, like Rob said, every time someone asks this question, the answer is changing, and it's evolving. It's not changing. It is literally evolving as we discover what works, what the community needs, what we want to bring to the community. It's coming from outside influences who want to work with us, and we're getting ideas from them, and they're getting ideas for us. And it's just an organic, earthy, crunchy tree and quilt and all those other cool analogies.
Cool, I love that.
I mean, Melissa said it pretty well, but it's something that like is a continuously evolving process, and you know, I guess even as it's expanded to become this beautiful quilt of like all these different organizations, the reason that it's expanded that way and what kind of led to it being created in this kind of way is that Melissa and I have known each other for a good amount of time, and even from the first moment that we had met each other, we both had the same ideas and overarching philosophies about what we felt the role of the arts was within the community, what the role of community should be, and how to cultivate a culture of like communal inclusiveness within all aspects of the arts. I know that Melissa is a spoken word poet, and a lot of times spoken word poets, especially when you're coming down to like putting them in part of events or like doing like open mics around that, a lot of times they're just kind of thrown on stage and it's not planned well and it's not effective programming and it's between like people setting up and stuff, and it's just not an effective presentation of the art form. And you know, so when Melissa came down to Welcome Home at the Checkmate Inn, which is an event that I was running and still run, basically she came down with a troupe of poets and she came up to me and was like, listen, like I wanna know like how we can do this well. And so we sat down for like 15 minutes before everything started. We made a programming strategy plan, and so basically we did like 3 poets in a single block. I think there were 6 poets during that first event, so we had 2 blocks of 3 poets each, and everybody was able to see it, listen to it, and be really, really engaged within the art form itself. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of like the sort of like the start of like, oh, okay, like we're both on the same wavelength of, we think that the arts can be inclusive and that there can be ways of which to incorporate different styles and different mediums and different pieces of music. And within my work, I'm a live sound engineer, and it's literally my job to be able to hear what an artist, any kind of artist, is trying to bring about, whether it's like an emotional response or whether it's a feeling or, it's my job to kind of be able to see that and then provide the kind of foundation that it needs to be able to stand on its own. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. And a lot of people that exist within my field that have that kind of one-size-fits-all mentality, they don't really last very long, or they don't really find themselves succeeding to like work with a lot of variety of artists.
Right.
And so it was that kind of like perspective and that idea of we want to be able to provide a platform for any aspect of creation of the arts. That's really what kind of drove both of us to create this idea that eventually would become VBT. Especially given just how open and accessible and dynamic that a virtual platform can be. You're not necessarily constrained by, oh, we need setup time for this person and this person and this person. Because if everybody has their setup, then it's just, okay, you go, okay, we want to go into something totally different. That's fine. Oh, you want to show a pre-recorded video? Sure. Why not? Oh, you want to do a theater presentation? Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Oh, do you want to do like a discussion about mental health and well-being? Yeah, let's do that next. So there was no kind of limitation. So it within the virtual platform that we were building, it kind of grew this kind of philosophy of inclusiveness and openness and being able to have all aspects of all the different arts be able to come together as a whole, and thus the quilt and thus everything that we're trying to stand for today.
Very cool. Now, how do you feel the community has accepted this whole new thing? Because obviously with quarantine, you guys kind of just started this pretty relatively recently, and it's seems to be blown up, in my opinion. I see it on in social media all the time. Like, how do you, just from an outside perspective, it seems like the community is embracing it wholeheartedly. But where do you guys see that?
Well, I mean, we've definitely seen so much support, and almost like more support than we could have even like imagined and hoped for. I mean, even when we had first talked about doing the fundraiser, our plan was originally just 24 hours. We're going to do a 24-hour fundraiser, and we were like really concerned about getting enough people and making sure that there was enough people that were going to sign up for applications and stuff. But then once the words kind of started to get around, and once the community started to see, like through the open mics that we were doing, like, oh, this is what they're doing. This is how they're doing it. This is how they're presenting it. Once people started to see that, eventually everything just started to explode from there. And eventually it just came to a point where me and Melissa were sitting down and we're like, oh, wait, maybe we should actually do the numbers. Like, maybe we should probably see what's up with this. And then all of a sudden we did the numbers and we're like, whoa, we have a lot of people. Yeah. Melissa, is that kind of how that went? Did I like do a good job?
Yeah, I mean, especially for the fundraiser and in general, like the community has very much embraced VBT, and not to sound cocky, but how could you not? We're literally here for the community. Like,
right.
We're here to give a platform to every type of art. It's not just music. It's not just poetry. We're looking to showcase everybody. So why would you not,
right.
Accept us? But really, the community has been incredible and wonderful. And, I know it started as this big fundraiser, but it has become this huge community movement. And every week the open mic's a little busier, and every week we have a few more views and a few more subscribers, and our Supporting the Arts in Quarantine group has over 825 people now. Everything is just really going very well, and it's just, again, it's another organic thing where it's just happening. We're not we're publicizing it because we're on it all the time, but we're not paying sponsor ads. We're not promoting it. We're not published. We just put out our first press release today. So this has all just been an organic reach from the community of being excited about what we're doing, and we're excited to be able to provide it.
I love that. And I think that's the best way to do it. I mean, that's how we started this, where now 2 years in, we'll throw a couple dollars here and there behind a post sometimes, but for that first year, I didn't touch money at all. It was all, I wanted it to be organic, because if everybody can pay for whatever, but if there's not a true audience, someone who really cares about what you're doing, then what's the point of wasting all that money? So I completely support that idea, because I think if you don't grow organically, then it's just a waste, in my opinion. Maybe that's harsh words, but I don't know. I support the organic growth more than like all paid stuff.
I don't necessarily would say that that's a waste. If anything, growth that starts from a foundational element will always be stronger than growth that is just kind of like a scaffolding that you're building on top of whatever happens to be there. Like, sure, you can build the scaffolding and you can maybe go higher and higher from there, but without that foundation that's beneath you of the community that's around you, organic growth, like people that are really, really interested and are about that kind of stuff, without that foundation, you don't really get the opportunity to grow.
Right. That's kind of where I was coming from. I think I really just said it the wrong way in terms of that's really what I meant. You need that year or so, or you need that whatever specific amount of time you need to build that organic fan base, which clearly you guys already have in just a few short weeks, it feels like.
Well, to be fair, we literally, it's been physically 6.5, almost 7 weeks. But if you count the hours that Rob and I have put into VBT, we have done a lot of work. We have done months of moving mountains in a very short time period. We had a day a couple weeks ago where we did 40 hours in 3 weeks. In 3 days. Most days we're doing 12 hours, and when we're not, and I'm just talking with the two of us physically in the same Zoom room. That doesn't count when we're not together. That doesn't count when I'm in my bed and I'm still making posts before I've gone to sleep, because I was handling the social media up until yesterday. We're always, Rob is constantly refining his craft and doing computer updates and learning new things about all of our broadcasting software. So we've done months and months and months of work in 6 weeks. But we're lucky to be utilizing our time to build this platform and to get back to the community, because otherwise I don't really know what else I'd be doing.
Right.
Oh, speaking of, Rob, did your computer ever update, or is it still?
No, I've so for anybody who's
Pour one out to Windows 10.
Yeah, so let's everybody pour one out to Windows 10.
Pour one out to Rob and the week of his life.
I've been seeing that post like constantly on my Facebook. It's like still
Yeah,
updating.
because it's been going on constantly.
It's been going on. So the thing is, like my computer is currently running Windows 7. I've thought for even like before this process about basically using a Hackintosh and putting a Mac OS on it, because I've been using Mac programs and stuff. Like I have my MacBook is literally over there, so I'm used to the architecture and infrastructure. However, Macs are not good for broadcast. They're not. They're just especially when it comes to handling audio. Like Mac is very much all just like, oh, you're going to use one input and output, and that's just the only thing you're going to need. Oh, and then but when you're trying to do things with broadcast, you need to be able to bring other sources, other audio sources into it and out of it and stuff. But Mac is always just like, oh, but why are you doing things so complicated?
Yep.
No, it's
why would you do
why wouldn't you just do it our way? Why would you do it any other way? Look at how sleek and nice the aluminum looks. That's always been like Apple's perspective.
Yeah.
So sorry about any Apple fanboys that may be watching this, but but basically it's just not what works well for broadcast. So most of the programs that I've been trying to use, Windows 7 is basically now sort of like out of date. Like it's still not supported by Microsoft, but it's only been like less than a year since they stopped supporting it. So it doesn't necessarily have a lot of incompatibility problems yet. But if I want to use the most recent versions of all the programs that I use, I need Windows 10 to do so. And this saga has been going on for about a month now of just me trying to update my computer from Windows 7 to Windows 10. And every problem that I could have had when it came to updating that and doing those types of things that normally is really simple, completely not. And it's gotten so bad to the point where even a week ago, I ended up putting in a whole new hard drive, a whole new SSD, and I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I'm going to try to install Windows 10 on this fresh SSD. I have my other one connected, so at the very least, if it fails, I can just go right back to Windows 7. And then my computer, in its infinite wisdom, loads up Windows 10. I select the right drive to install it onto that, and then it loads up on that drive, and then it says, oh, by the way, we're going to install it on your Windows 7 Volume 1, and yeah, it's going to happen in 3 seconds, and there's no way you can stop it. Bye! And so I tried to install Windows 10 on my Windows 7 drive. So when that happened, though, I originally was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna, I've reinstalled my OS so many times over the last month that it literally just took me a whole day of just literally like putting everything back onto a whole new OS from scratch, and it only took me a day. Like, and I mean like having everything up, the file structure up, the programs back in place, everything saved to the right like file structure, everything, and it only took me a day, and it's just because of how good I've gotten at reinstalling my OS.
So we know who to call if we need to install.
All right, good to know.
Fundraiser.
You should probably call my brother. He's the one who actually like does computer things and works for Amazon.
Shout out to our network engineer.
Thank you. Shout out to our network engineer, Richard Peterzak.
Amazing. All right. Do you have any other questions, Dan, or do you want me to?
I'll let you take over for a little. I feel like I've been talking a lot.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. So because we're a music blog, we're gonna ask you about music stuff. So, all right. So next question. Do you have any music that you feel has been like really kind of integral to your personality? Kind of what has inspired you to do the things that you do, or just any kind of music that you've, just all that. Tell us your faves, what's inspired you, all that. Like, inspired you to do what you do, essentially.
Do you want to go first, Melissa?
I was going to say, I mean, I'm sure you have a significantly longer answer than I do. So, music in general, I mean, most of the music that I would listen to was local scene music. I mean, I really has shaped and influenced me in the ways that I am as a person. Local artists have inspired me to become a spoken word poetess, like spending 10 years watching MCs on stage, watching Jessie Lee just kill it, you know, on stage, and watching Augie and watching Alex Turner now, like just all of those MCs on stage and Fame just killing it, inspiring me to want to get out there and to perform. Like, even though I know I'm a spoken word poetess, like the music scene has always inspired me to want to get up and do more. And like, it never made me like. I mean, I dusted off my sax during quarantine and I picked it back up, but it never made me.
Yeah, I see the guitar in the background.
Yeah, yeah. I got about a week into that before VBT really kicked off, so that's not happening. But it always, the music scene has just always inspired me to do more and do better and do bigger. And even like I said, even though I don't rap and I'm not on stage, like those artists are people who really influenced me. And even Brendan Hardesty from Bub and Uglies, like just watching them get on stage and have those words flow out of their mouth like that is just super inspiring to me, and all the music on the scene. And then even during VBT days, like it's a lot of chill hop, it's a lot of lo-fi, just kind of like vibing, a lot of very, you know, mellow, just so that I can like function. And when I'm not listening to that, it's usually Fish or The Dead, something jammy, something crunchy that I can just kind of like really get into. So it depends on my mood, it depends on what I'm up to. But in terms of like influential music, the music scene has always been my biggest influence, and I've been part of it since I was 15. So
cool.
Yeah, so you're more of like an energy kind of performance, like
absolutely.
And I gotta say, I love
was actually
that.
interested in your answer too. So,
I love that you didn't go to like the biggest bands immediately. I love that you talked about the local scene and all the people that are truly inspiring you. And it's so easy to just pick like a giant band. I like that it really showed that you genuinely care about them. So I love that. Sorry, didn't want to interrupt, but I just had to say that. I really like that.
Where I got my start. No, that was really the end of my answer. But since you said, like, it's where I got my start. I've been on the music scene since I was 16, you know, at VP South, shooting shows, watching the Vagabonds. They were like a 15-piece ska band from East Islip High School. Like, and I would spend like my weekends at these ska shows and these hardcore shows and these metal shows. And like, that's where I was born, you know, like that was where my whole existence began and started to shape who I am. So as much as all of those huge names influenced me, and I love the Dirty Heads and I love Modest Yahoo and like I love Fish and I love the Dead, like the local scene is here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that.
Me too.
Agreed. Even I'd say to go to the same question. My musical journey has always been a very, very strange one. Because it's taken me through a lot of different twists and turns and through a lot of different genres. I guess it really all started as a classical trumpet player, because like my first main instrument that I ever really studied was the trumpet. And so I eventually started to kind of like fall in love with like brass ensembles, and like when I was in middle school, I started like writing pieces for brass ensemble and all that kind of stuff. And that's something that like I even to this day like still have continued in various capacities. But then basically a really good friend of mine, or someone that would eventually become a really good friend of mine, just kind of like looked at me and one day he's like, I don't know who you are, but you're a good trumpet player, and I want to start a ska band. And so basically, I don't know. Do you guys know Chris Regan of the Meantime?
No.
Okay. So Chris, he is an amazing dude. He is like one of the funniest and most like just very, very connected people that I've ever known. I know you guys had Johnny on your show, and like I actually met Johnny from Keep Flying through Chris, and just from all the stuff that they were doing, they became really, really close. Especially when Johnny was still doing transit, but was still involved with transit, still involved with 4 Year Strong. Chris actually ended up being like their bass player for the bass player 4 Year Strong when they would do like their European tours and everything.
Oh wow!
But basically, he brought me into this band that he was trying to start, and then from there, like I was just like this very shy that didn't really talk to a lot of people, didn't really have a lot of friends person, and then all of a sudden, like I found myself at my first show, which was Christmas for when Pat and Penning was doing the Christmas shows back at I think it was back at when they were doing it at the Crazy Donkey and shit. And I will never ever ever forget that show for the rest of my life. It just the sights, the sounds, the energy of the crowd, this beautiful dynamic and how much they were able to interact with their fans. It completely blew my mind out of the water, and started me on this path of like, I need to pursue this, and I need to do this. And so we eventually decided not to be a ska band, and we ended up kind of doing more of like a pop punk sound, but like still with like horns that are like chiefly a part of it.
Okay.
And it was always really, really great to kind of go on stage, and people would see me warm up with my trumpet and be like, "Oh, you guys a ska band?" And I would just be like, I don't know, you'll see. And then we would always like change people's minds and change people's perspectives about like what they thought about music and what they thought about my instrument. Then later on, I became I started listening to like a lot more music that featured my horn. I started listening a lot to like Not Going Medicine for the People, Matas Yahoo,
Love them.
the Dirty Heads, and just really, really started to like fall in love with music like that. Played in a group that was doing something like similar, a lot of like Appalachian style folk, but with like a little bit more of like a larger instrumentation. And then I ended up becoming very involved in a band when I was living up in Connecticut, and when I was going to school up at Hartford. I became very involved in a band called Newt, that was very much like American football style, like emo rock, like
Yeah.
Midwestern emo, and bringing my horn to that kind of sound. And then all of a sudden I just became involved in like all the different like indie music that was starting to come out of like the Connecticut scene up there, and it's still coming out. And then when I left Connecticut, it brought me to have like a stint being playing keyboard in like a metal band. I was like doing that for a while. Then from there, it brought me to playing in in a Latin ensemble and doing some like some salsa shit. And then from and then from there, like I started to get really, really involved in like the jam band scene and like the jam band community, especially that exists on Long Island again.
Yeah.
And then slowly like worked my way over to like Port Side and Port Jeff, and then sort of discovered like the music community that was existing around like the Three Towns area. And then from there, just kept throwing my head into just like all the different music and all the different sounds that existed. And eventually Chad White saw me from Aquacherry, and he's like, "Hey, like I want you to do what you do, but I want you to do it in with me." And then I've been involved in Aquacherry now for the last year. And I guess, sorry to go on a tangent about just like my whole history, but
No.
My what I've done within music itself, I found that every musical genre has a kind of like feeling that it's trying to like communicate to people, and a kind of like perspective it's trying to communicate to people, and each genre has like its own different function that it serves within like how people interact with it and what people think about. So lately, like I've been listening to a lot of lo-fi and a lot of music that's been coming out of like the European area, especially around like the Netherlands.
Right.
And that music for me is like music that will keep me into like a positive perspective, but being able to like feel like this comfort within myself and the comfort of intimacy. That's what all those kinds of channels are like all about, when they're all like, "Oh, let's watch this girl just write in her notes," or "Let's watch this raccoon like hang out on his bed." It's like it's all about like the propagation of like the beauty that comes with like intimacy. And that's and so especially coming into COVID and into this quarantine crisis, like having that music like on constant repeat and on like as a constant playlist, like sort of gave me like hope and like a vision about like this current crisis that we were facing. And it kind of kept, even as I was starting to descend into isolation, it never really felt like it was a descent, because I was always still having this sound and this idea of like the beauty of intimacy, as like a constant reoccurring theme. So I guess the long story short, music has always been something that for each aspect of all different genres have their own kind of function and their own purpose. And yeah, I think that it's just each of them have their own kind of way of doing that. And I think that it means different things to everybody, and it's all meant different things to me.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Dude, you're like a musical chameleon. I love it.
And you have to be, if you're just like at the console and you just gotta like figure out like what this artist is trying to do in the next 10 minutes, and it better be good.
That's pretty good. All right, I think that brings me to my next question then. Do you have any like memorable moments when you guys were working. So Rob, that would be when you're like doing sound or when you're playing, and then Melissa, that would be when you're performing, or like when you're like doing like photography or anything. Do you have any like memorable moments? Any like funny things? Any like oh shit moments? But anything that just stands out to you?
This is gonna sound really cocky, but I'm not sharing this story to be cocky. I'm sharing because it drives me insane. A lot of times when I get off stage, because a lot of my spoken word pieces are, or at least a lot of my earlier works were very relevant to body image, to being a plus size woman, of being an alternative woman, of all of these different things that I embody. And so a lot of my work is about that. And a lot of times I would get off stage and the first like person to like approach me is almost always a man. And they love to just like, you could tell like they weren't listening, because you'll get off stage and they'll just be like, well, I just want you to know, I think you're beautiful. Or like, well, I just want you to know, I don't think you're really fat. And like, one time I got off stage and someone came up to me at Velvet Lounge, and I'll never ever forget it. And I walked over to my friends after. I finished performing this piece and I got down and the guy came up to me and goes, that was really classy. And I just was like, okay, like nothing. I'm a good poetess. Don't get me wrong, but like that's not really like an adjective that I would like utilize. So I just feel like I get a lot of people that come up after me after I get off stage, and they're just like trying to hit on me, or they're just trying to say something, and it's very obvious they weren't listening to anything I said, because
they're trying to like downplay it.
Yeah, they're trying to compliment me and be like, "You're not fat, and I think you're beautiful." I'm like, well, if you actually listen to my poem, I also think I'm beautiful, and it's okay that I'm fat. Like, so it's just one of those experiences where people utilize your work to try and feel like they're being this like intimate and deep individual, and like it actually is literally like it's verbal vomit that proves they are just not listening. And I feel like that is my most common experience when I perform.
Yeah, I just like I hate when people are like that. They're just like, oh, but like don't beat yourself up. I'm like,
yeah, like you should be kinder to yourself. I'm like, you did not listen to my words. They were incredibly kind to myself.
That was so brave of you. I'm like, like what are you? Why are you not here?
Yeah, right. I'm always happy to accept comments and discuss my work. Like after, I love discussing my work. I am only a poetess because I know that my words reach people and they're important to people. And when I started speaking on body image issues, I had a tremendous amount of people come up to me, thanking me, crying, being grateful that someone else shared their story. And it was the only reason I kept doing what I was doing. But the people who come up to you after, who are just trying to be condescending or trying to hit on you or trying to just deflect what you've just put out there and utilize it as this means of input for your vulnerability, I have no time for it.
Right. Yeah, true. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. No, I I've been trying to think of a good story and this whole thing. So there's a couple of them. All right, so one of the coolest experiences I've ever had when it comes to like my musical experience. There was a band that they were basically a pretty big band, and they were holding a secret show that only the people at my school like knew about. Now I wasn't in my school anymore, but basically they only told like the people in the school that this was happening, and it was going to be at this gymnasium in the middle of campus, and they had a whole security detail and all this crazy stuff. So I had heard from my friends like, hey, like you gotta come through, like you gotta see this. And so like there was only maybe like an hour for me to start. So I was like, I just went in my car and I just drove immediately to the gymnasium. It was only like 15 minutes away. So I'm there and I'm about to leave. And all of a sudden, I'm about to leave, and I'm thinking like, how am I going to get into the show? Like, I can't, like, cause I'm thinking like, there's security there, like maybe I can talk them up and say, oh, my friend's in there or something. Like, we were trying to come up with a strategy, and my friend and I, we were going to come in and we were going to have this whole strategy and this whole plan and stuff. So I'm about to leave my car, and I see my trumpet in my back seat, and I'm thinking to myself like, So I grabbed my trumpet.
You pulled the move like I'm in the band. Oh
so
my
I grab
god.
my trumpet. I grab my trumpet and I go up to the gymnasium. My friend actually gets like pulled to the side and stuff because she like they like put her through the metal detector, and she has like piercings galore, like every kind of piercing you can ever imagine. And they were just like, we need to make sure that you're not carrying a firearm. But basically, so I was able to get in, and they're like open up the case, and they saw I was a trumpet. So they're like, all right, sure. And they let me in, and so I'm there, and I'm like seeing this band. And the trombone player of the band, he just like I'm wearing my Kiss My Brass shirt, you know, and he's just like nice shirt, and they're just like, oh hey, like nice shirt, and I'm just like yeah, and so the lead singer of the band goes, where's your horn? And I'm just like and I'm like put it against the wall. It's like it's over there. He's like, what do you mean? It's like I take it out. I literally take the horn and I open it in front of them, in front of the whole audience, and they see that I have a horn in there, and it's like oh, do you know the science of selling yourself short? And I'm like, fuck yeah.
Of course.
So I jumped on stage,
yeah.
and I got to play with Less Than Jake.
Amazing.
Yo, that is so fucking cool.
That's the best story.
Damn it. Oh, I don't have any stories, but Jesus. Damn, that's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, he signed my cup. The lead singer signed my cup mute. It was great.
Oh my god, that's so cool. Jeez, that's so cool.
Damn, you got cooler stories than I do.
Shit. I don't know.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, like I saw someone get punched at a show, and it's like, oh, so like this is how I got started playing with Less Than Jake,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I punched them back.
Exactly.
It was me. I was the person who got punched.
You should have seen the other guy. It's me. I'm the other guy. Oh my goodness.
So one thing we didn't talk about, so we talked about the fundraiser and everything, but I want to talk a little bit more about so how did you come up with the whole non-for-profit and like the actual fundraising? Like what are some of the techniques you guys are using to actually raise these funds? Because we didn't really talk about that much, and I'd like to talk about the event a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think we should definitely maybe go into a little bit about like GDQ and then kind of like go into like Artly World, I think.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
Okay,
I'll start with GDQ.
Okay, I'll take GDQ and then you take the rest of it. All right. So I have always been very, very inspired, so much so by a fundraiser that's been held every year now for the last 10 years called Games Done Quick, or GDQ. It's the largest event that happens on Twitch, which is Amazon's streaming platform. That's more primarily oriented towards like gaming and those types of things. So it started 10 years ago, and the first event that they held was in the founders' living room. They were originally going to do it in some kind of hotel somewhere, and they couldn't get it, and so they were like, all right, let's just do it in a living room. It was in a living room with a crappy webcam, and they just invited a bunch of their friends over, and they just basically speed ran a bunch of games and streamed it live. For anybody who doesn't know what speedrunning is it's not necessarily a sport, but it's more of like this event style of like human achievement, where you try to beat a game as quickly as possible. And there's a lot of different categories that are run to do this for different games. But like, let's say like some of the most popular examples are like in Super Mario 64, and for the Nintendo 64, you have the 120 star category, the 70 star category, the 30 star category, 16 or something like that, the 7 star category, 1 star category, and 0 star category. So there's people that have beat the whole entire game in like 12 minutes. Damn. Even most recently for the run of Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, any percent, somebody basically figured out a way to using like a lot of complicated glitches and utilizing like crazy like text for like when you input a name into like the character selection screen, where you can trick the game into running your own set of code in the game. So you basically have it's called arbitrary code execution. So using that and then using inputs into the game through the character to like execute like very specific variables and basically write the code as you're playing this character and doing a bunch of random movements and crazy backflips, and I need to slash my sword at this frame at this time in order to execute this kind of thing. And they're able to beat Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time in like 6.5 minutes. because it basically just warps you to the end credit screen. Yeah.
It's flexing.
So GDQ, yeah, it's about the flex.
It's a flex.
Everybody loves that flex.
But it's a flex to raise money, so it's okay.
Yeah. So people have been speedrunning on online communities and like online forums for the last 20 years now. But it wasn't until GDQ started to become a popular event that speedrunning started to enter the public eye, and that people that speedran these games were able to quit their jobs and do speedrunning professionally on Twitch and with like thousands and thousands of viewers every time that they go for a run. Just this last year, GDQ was able to raise over $3 million for Doctors Without Borders and the Prevent Cancer Foundation. So it's and on top of that, they were able to do so by elevating this idea and this like community that exists in speedrunning, elevating it further to the public eye, being able to show people the legitimacy of it, and being able to host this kind of event where it's very interactive. You know, whether you're watching online or whether you're part of the crowd that's there, you know, when you donate, you know, there's somebody who reads the donations, who like reads the messages that people put through and stuff. So every time that you donate, you're very much a part of the broadcast. There's donation incentives. There's like giveaways that they'll do for people who donate a certain amount. There's a whole bunch of great stuff that they do. So seeing that made me kind of realize like the power, not just of being able to raise money in the nonprofit sector that a virtual event can showcase, but also the power that it has to be able to get people engaged in a way that you can't do anywhere else. And, you know, so for speedrunning, it's been able to, you know, make speedrunning, bring it to the public eye and give these people a livelihood and a career. So my hope would be that we would be able to do the same for other organizations that we would want to work with, and that we would be able to give that same kind of visibility and awareness to the community that we've been growing and that we've been a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
And that kind of led us to work with Artly World. And Melissa, can you sort of give like why we kind of came to Artly World and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So Artly World was this. We had announced that we were going to do a fundraiser, and we knew we were going to donate to Direct Relief to help with, you know, immediate needs and PPE and stuff like that. But we knew we wanted to give back to the community that we're a part of, and we knew we wanted to give back to the arts. So we had announced a fundraiser. We knew we were donating to Direct Relief, but we had not yet picked a charity for the arts, and we were looking at all of these different options, and there were ones that supported musicians, and there were ones that supported painters, and there was ones that supported playwrights, but there was nothing that supported everybody. And Rob and I have always bonded over that feeling of everyone having that equal opportunity and all musicians and artists and poets being the same. And we wanted to work with a charity that also felt that all of the arts were important, that it was not just that a musician was better than a poet or better than a visual artist or anything like that. So we actually saw someone, Rory Kelly had posted Artly World saying that they were giving stipends to artists, and I just kind of looked into them, and it turned out that they are based. So Artly World is the name of the not-for-profit, and they're based in Texas. And during their pre-COVID existence, they were actually giving back to their local communities through the arts, whether it was providing community instruments that people could come and play with, working with young children and in the older generations to just bring arts and bring expression to them and pick up a paintbrush and make a mess and all of that type of just being being with art and not maybe knowing what you're doing, but just enjoying yourself and expressing yourself. So that was kind of Artly World's mission. And then when COVID hit, they wanted to expand. So they're based in Texas, and their works are done in Texas and in those local community areas. So for Artly World, what they did is they released the Artists Relief Project, which is for anybody in the United States who has an art. And it's a small stipend, but everyone is available for it, and you can do any type of discipline. And they're a smaller organization. They've only been around, Artly World as a whole has only been around for 2.5 years, I think. And the Artist Relief Project obviously just started. They have 55,000 applications in right now.
That's crazy.
That is a lot of applications.
Seriously.
And it is not stopping. And they give out small stipends, enough to help with groceries and make you be able to decide between medication or food. You can have both, like they're it's very humble, but it's very important, and it just gives artists that little extra boost where they need it. And we really just fell in love with their mission statement, with their values. We felt that they were the same as VBTs in terms of wanting to lift their community up, bring them together. They want to start providing continuing ed classes for artists, because a lot of artists, especially like visual artists and stuff, are maybe not on social media, or they're of the older generation, fine arts of the older generation, where they're not really using Facebook, they're not making websites, they're just putting their stuff up in galleries or selling it in local venues, and they don't know how to make even like a Wix page or how to start a Facebook. So Artly wants to create classes and tutorials and stuff like that as well, to provide that for the people that are part of the Relief Project. So they just had a lot of really beautiful values, and they were giving back to the community, and they were doing the same things that VBT was trying to do. And it just felt really important to reach out to them. And they met with us. We met with the president of Arly World. Rashawn is amazing. He's spoken with us a few times. We have a great interview with him that we're going to air the day of the fundraiser. And he's a wonderful human, and they're all volunteers, and then they pay like the humans they need to hire to like do things like create their website and stuff. But the like main people, they're all volunteers. They are all just extending their time to help bring money to the artists, and it's really wonderful.
Wow.
So the relevance to GDQ is we're utilizing that platform the day of the fundraiser to help raise those funds. So when you donate, and anyone who's tuned into our open mic on Wednesday nights has seen, this is a highly fun and highly effective method. When you donate,
yeah, you guys got your goal like right at the end of the night.
We broke our $800 goal. We did.
Wow.
We're really, really pleased. We've raised just over $200 every week since we started the open mic, and we hit our $800 goal last night. And honestly, as much as I know people are generous, the pop-up donations and seeing those come up on the screen and having your comments out there and doing the $5 donation trains and cheering and shouting them out, that is hyping people up. It is opening their hearts. It's showing what we're trying to accomplish, and it's getting people to donate more. Whereas when we're not hyping it up as much, or if we're not talking about it as much, the donations come in here and there. But when we're really shouting them out, we're making people excited, we hit our goal every week, and we're so thankful. And it's an effective method of utilization, and we're really excited because we've been doing it for direct relief. So we've got $800 in for direct relief, and I think next week we're going to open up the Artly World donations to kick off right before the fundraiser. So we're excited to see what we could do for them.
Cool.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
That is exciting.
Great.
I'm excited for this event. I really am. And just from like the way people are commenting, like I don't know if you guys just saw Abandoned Ship just commented about how they've learned so much with the internet and how much the fostering of such a new community. And I feel like everything you just said just is exactly what they just commented. Like that's the definition of like the Long Island community. Like I feel the same way as you guys. When I started, I felt like I was just like so embraced and welcomed right away. And like, look at that. You guys have been doing for a few weeks and you've met your goal already. Like, hats off to you guys.
Like,
that's awesome.
Literally every week, every time they've done an open mic, it's just like, bam, accomplishment, bam.
Seriously.
You know what? It's the community. I mean, Rob and I work really hard, don't get me wrong. We spend a lot of hours talking about how we can make these events successful. We are more than just an open mic. We are more than just a live stream. We are so many things, and we work really hard on those things. But in the end, just like anything else, no band is a band without their fans. No organization is an organization without their community, and we couldn't do it without everyone that tunes into these live streams and these broadcasts and jumps on the open mic and shares our links, and everything that y'all are doing are making this a success. And hopefully this fundraiser is going to be one for the books.
And gets involved in the chat.
Yes, chat.
Hell
Not
yeah.
hopefully. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
the chat's like one of my favorite parts, and that's another thing that anybody who is not tuned into a VBT live broadcast, we do have the live chat on screen, and that's an added layer of excitement because if you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitch, if you're on Facebook, everyone is talking in the same room, and you get to see what everyone is chatting about, and it's integrating multiple platforms. So we're integrating people, we're integrating different types of art forms, we're integrating different user interfaces, and it's like just really all about just smooshing everything together. So together live.
Cool.
love it. Smooshing.
All the
everything. Love it. Great stuff.
Hashtag the smoosh.
Hashtag
Oh my god, I love the little hashtags that you guys like make every.
It's
live
just
stream.
it's like every broadcast we do. It's just so this one, yeah, sure, why not? Nap for VBT.
I was saying Nap for VBT is a very real hashtag.
Oh no, it's very real. It came from
I'm
just
so
us being
happy
like,
to
yeah,
have
why
been a
not?
part of that creation.
Donate your naps.
Just
Happy.
Yes, thank you, Veronica. Nap for VBT. Oh goodness.
just always on my mind, naps. I'm just like, you know what? I'm tired. So.
Yep.
I'm tired.
So if you're tired, if you're watching this broadcast right now and you are tired, realize that every time that you nap, you have that opportunity to donate your naps.
I need a shirt that says, "If you're reading this, I'm tired."
Yes. I'll make you a button. Perfect. All right. You have to remind me, but I'll totally make you a button.
Yeah, for sure. I'll probably message you, be like, "Hey, so about that button, though."
Totally, please do.
All right, so I think I'm gonna move on to my little game that I've been kind of not talking about, but now I'm gonna talk about.
I know.
Right
I'm
now.
so interested now.
Okay, so the game is, I saw it on a different broadcast, but I would love to bring it in here, so I brought it in here. So the game is, I have a bunch of pictures from Wikihow articles, and you have to guess what the Wikihow is.
Yes.
That makes sense. I have three, so I have one that's kind of a little bit obscure. So if you need another one, then I'll show that one, then I'll show the next one, and then if you can't guess it, then I'll give it to you guys. So yeah, I already know all these. Dan, you can play along. The comment people, you can play along, and
Yeah.
do all that fun stuff. All right. Let me just share my screen.
Oh, I forgot my friend.
There we go. All right.
Forgot my friend.
Cool.
There we go.
All right. You guys can see stuff, right?
Yes.
All right. Cool. Let me just
Yes, the
zoom
big
in.
cow.
All right. Okay. WikiHow base. Okay. So this is an easy one, a little bit of an easier one, so you can kind of see, get the gist of it. So this is the first one. If you have anything to guess, let me know.
How to teach a dog to fist bump?
Yo, bro, what's up? Yo,
Are we supposed to actually?
So
answer these?
I actually have a guess, but I think I might know what it is, but I don't want to be the first one to get.
I do know what this is, but I feel like funnier.
If everyone knows what it is, they can guess it.
I feel like wrong answers are way funnier.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, I picked this one specifically as the first one. So
Is it the how to prevent your dog from smiling? I don't know.
prevent your
Prevent your
How to
dog
prevent your
from
dog
smiling.
from
Right.
smiling.
Well, this is the next
Oh,
one. so-
look at it.
Scritches. This is about scritches, isn't it?
It might be.
How to please your dog in 10 ways.
The scritches. Yeah, this is the scritches.
How to scritch.
This is good. Yeah. So
You can't show us cute animal pictures while we're delirious.
Well, I wanted to make the first one a little bit easier, so you can
Just how to meet a new animal. How to introduce yourself. How to introduce yourself to a dog.
Oh yeah. So the original article is how to pet a dog.
Yeah.
But they have different.
This is a giveaway. It's so that they don't bite off your fingers when you.
Yes, they had different ones. So it was how to pet a dog, how to pet a friendly dog, how to pet an unfriendly dog, and it's
How to pet a dog. Don't pet an unfriendly dog is the answer to that.
yeah, all right.
I worked in
Whoa.
animals. That is a
Now
bad
that
way
people
to
have a
live.
gist of it.
Yo, Kai
so
is
this
on Kai is on point in these comments right now, and I like the how to properly present a dog with a knuckle sandwich.
Yeah, Kai.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the next one. People want to give in their guesses.
How to cook a hermit crab?
This is ritualistic combat for hermit crabs.
They're preparing for Super Smash Bros. If you couldn't
How to
tell.
prepare for Super Smash Bros. If you're a hermit crab and you also happen to be at the appropriate temperature. Like, oh, hey, Harry, get some sand? Some sand? Oh, is it? Oh, it's. I think I know what this is.
All right. Anyone else?
How to bury the crab after you kill it.
How to hide the body.
How to realize that you like sand because it's coarse and it gets everywhere.
Exactly.
Oh, they're having dinner. How cute.
Happy jacuzzi. It looks like a hermit crab jacuzzi.
I told you it was how to cook a hermit crab.
All right.
How to take your hermit crab to dinner.
Exactly.
They're on like a little date. Maybe it's
how to take your hermit crabs on a sweet
It's a
date.
hermit crab date. That's adorable.
Exactly.
They're eating house salad.
It doesn't look like they're eating salad.
From all of
They still get to go out to eat. It must be nice.
That's what I was gonna say. People who could still go out to eat.
Exactly. All right, but okay.
Wait,
so
what actually is it?
Oh, how to prepare a hermit crab tank.
Okay, I mean that was fair.
All right.
Yeah. So where I got
Wikihow
this
is the
from?
best, by the way.
What happened?
I love Wikihow. It is the
Yeah,
most
so what I did yesterday and I think Tuesday was just like they have a little feature called random article, and that's kind of where I got all of these.
excellent.
Unless like they're really specific. But yeah, let's see. So let's go for number 3. This one, I don't know how
How to identify George Washington if he's in your art gallery.
How to properly scold someone not wearing a face mask and social distancing.
Yes.
I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say. How to tell that bitch off.
Hey, you listen here, you bitch. You listen here.
It is quite an outfit, though. What is the second photo? We're gonna need more.
This one might give it away.
Storyboard.
Storyboard.
How to conduct a play?
How to get
Tell
divorced?
that bitch off. You tell that bitch off, and then you write the hit new comedy series. about
Here's
how you
5
told that
reasons
bitch
why.
off.
Oh my god. Yeah, so I think Melissa got it like pretty quickly. But yeah, this is the last one.
Is
This one
it
like would have gotten it.
theater? Is it theater?
Yeah, it's how to write a musical. Basically.
Okay.
Is it? Oh, it's
Oh
theater.
wow! I would have never got that one.
Oh, I enjoy theater so much.
Wow.
All right, this is the next one. This might
Oh,
be
no.
a little.
Exactly.
Kai, I just saw your comment. The crab chillerette. How to tell the Ren Fair attendees they are not in the right period. Sold.
All right, so this is the next one.
You're at night of the you're the new night guard at night of the museum. You're just like, what the why? Go back.
Is this how?
Go back. Go in the display case.
Yo, that's a good one. That was my favorite one of the night. I like that one.
They're in the menagerie wall. Go.
All right,
This
this
is
is the next
clearly
one.
how to dose your deviled eggs.
Dose it.
Kind of dose.
How to dose
Yeah.
your deviled eggs.
All you do is you take the shrooms, you crush them up, and you sprinkle them on, and you don't tell your parents what you did.
Exactly.
You have the best Easter ever.
I'm thinking it's practicing to be Salt
This is-
Bay. Remember Salt Bay, the dude who had the stupid
Yeah.
little memes? That's what I'm picturing.
Oh, goodness.
This is how you create a spicy meatball, but not from meatball. Instead, it is egg ball.
Perfect.
That's got to be it.
This game is like meant for me. Love it.
I know. As soon as Veronika said this, I was like, "Oh, this is Rob." Like,
I love this. I love creating new context so much.
Remember the night
That's
we had
like-
time? Remember when we actually had time to do shit and we played Jackbox and it was the funniest night ever?
I love that
I
game.
really, really want to
We
play
were
Jackbox.
crying, laughing. It was so much fun.
Yeah,
I love
we'll do
that
like some
game.
Jackbox like streams of like some community group streams and shit.
I'm
Yeah,
all over
do
that.
that.
If you do that, I'm all in it.
We definitely
love
will.
it.
We got 8 days now. We're getting there. Almost 8 days.
Almost there.
This is I feel like this is a very out of order Wikihow. I'm gonna go with abandoned ship there. Why are we going backwards? We sprinkled the eggs. We sprinkled the eggs. Now, are they different ways? There are different ways to prepare an egg. That's it.
I'll be.
Ooh, that's a
it's
good
how
one.
to eat a boiled egg.
Really?
But I'll be like, not gonna lie. This was the first picture, so
Okay.
you're gonna have to bring it up with
It-
You
Wikihow.
spice,
in the
you spice a
boiled egg.
meatball,
And then
and then
peel
you
them.
do this, and then you balance spicy meatball on top of other half of spicy meatball.
All right, I think I have one more. Let's just check. Okay, I think I
How
have
to
one.
socially distance.
COVID.
Yeah, that was pretty easy.
It's COVID.
Too
I can
soon.
check my COVID marker on my calendar.
Too soon. What is this actually though? Is this like how to
This-
it's how to walk in a
Okay.
park during quarantine.
Wow.
That's a
Wow.
real
Do you ever think
how-to.
you
Jeez,
ever think you'd be alive during a time where you needed a Wikihow about how to appropriately walk through a park?
right?
I've spent hours trying to find like pictures for this, and like there are some there's things there are some
Yeah.
things.
Can you go to the first
My
picture
goodness.
of the thing?
The first one of the.
No,
Alright,
not
so
the first. All right, let's do it.
okay.
Let's move on.
So this is the last one. You guys want to?
Now remember, kids, you don't want to swear when you're talking to your boss on a job interview. That's
Say
not
how not to
appropriate.
swear.
Don't be doing that.
Don't be doing that.
I'm gonna be realistic in how to
That's
talk
your-
on your phone in public.
That could be your boss on the other end of the screen. You don't know that.
Oh my goodness. All right, here's the next one.
How may
Look,
I?
there it is. That's your
How
boss.
to be nice to your customer service rep.
Did you read this article already?
Whoa.
No, but I am one, and that's exactly what this exemplifies.
Wow.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it is.
Yes. Talk to your
Wow, bravo.
Talk to your customer service reps like people, okay? Crazy thought. Don't yell at them.
Yeah, you gotta just be happy.
In the regular world, I'm a very astute office manager. Thank you very much. And I do not like being scolded for shit that is not my fault. We are all human.
Let me play charades for a second. It's a circle, but it's got like an orange peel in the center. You got like two little grapes. They're all the same color. It rhymes with Miley. I don't know.
I love it.
Kai said you need to name this segment
What the hell? I like
and
that.
have a jingle. So Rob will write the jingle because
Hell yeah.
I got the jingle.
What the hell?
Well-
Yeah. So I had another contender. Because like I was talking to my boyfriend about it. And he's like, "Is there an article for how to talk to girls?" And there is. There's 5 different articles for how to talk to girls. How to talk to girls at a party. How to talk to girls on Tinder. How to talk to girls in general. So
Amazing.
That could be a whole
this would've
segment.
been
Just use
very
all 5 of them.
helpful when I was dating, but so
I think it'll be easier to write how not to talk to girls and then just share all of the terrible messages that people send.
oh my god, yeah. I was looking at the Tinder one because I want to like use the Tinder one as another option. And I think like one of them was like it was like a guy, and then like the text was like, "Hey, so you play guitar? Can I see a video of it?" I'm like, I'm not sharing.
It's a terrible world out
It
there.
was very strange, basically.
Yeah, honestly, like if I haven't been on Tinder in like 5 years, but my foolproof strategy has always just been like, can you describe the socioeconomic conditions of like the European like southern like states in Italy from like the year in 1877 to 1836?
It's very
I mean,
specific.
It's very but it works. Not really, but
Define works. I guess it depends on what your end game is there.
True.
I mean, I just want to have intellectual discourse about like different aspects of the American Southern economies during like the 1870s.
On Tinder. Yeah.
On Tinder.
But no, I'm trying to learn some shit. What else? What do you use Tinder for?
I don't.
Okay,
I used to use Tinder to like promote other like my friends' bands. So there's an option on Tinder where you can like put like a favorite song or something. So I would always put like Dino Skate Park. I would put like whoever's band. And I think one of my questions was like, oh, like send me a song and like whatever. And then they're like, oh, like what's your favorite song? I'd be like, oh, Don't Phrygian by Don Stuff to Cairo. If I were to do it right now, but I'm not.
Listen to it right now. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Actually, that's really smart.
And it got them views and streams.
I
so
believe
it's
it.
Yo, we did it with Statfest for a little bit. People would like match with us on Statfest and be like, "Hey, come to our festival."
That's the best. All right, who's making a Tinder for VBT? You got 9 days.
Nah, that's a terrible idea.
They actually find love, and you're like, oh, this is not what we wanted, but.
Oh my goodness.
I'm so lost without you.
All right, Dan, do you want to do the closing question, or do you want me to?
You got it. I'll let you go with it.
Thanks. All right. So we've been asking this question in all of our kind of like live interviews and everything. So, and it still kind of applies to you guys because you kind of like you have next week.
No, it definitely
for
applies.
Fundraiser and everything. Yeah, for sure. But yeah. So if you guys had to convince somebody to kind of like tune into VBT, to attend VBT, for someone who you're kind of just like talking to them, like have no idea, what would you say to them? Like, how would you convince them to kind of participate?
Like if someone said you have 30 seconds to convince me. what would be what's like the most powerful message you guys would want to send?
You can take more than 30 seconds.
Yeah, you can take longer. I just meant like.
Am I gonna give the real and methodical answer, and then you're gonna give the very strange Rick and Morty commercial answer? Okay, cool.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, we have a flow. We get it. It's fine. anyone who's watched one of our broadcasts already knows how this is gonna go. So, 30 seconds of why you should tune in to Fundraiser.
Alright, do I need a timer? I can time you right now.
Oh, it doesn't need to be. I was just saying, if someone was like, "Hey, a short, quick thing," you know.
Yeah, no, I'll give the formal answer. So, why they should, or what will consist when they do tune in. So,
Why?
Like, if you're just like, yeah, you're just kind of like, you're like, oh, hey, I've been working on VBT, and they're like, oh, like, what's that? Or like, what would you tell them to convince them to be like, oh, like, cool, I'll check this out. Kind of like an elevator pitch, essentially.
Yeah, so the VBT fundraiser is going to be 2 days of incredible showcases of everything that our local community of arts and beyond has to offer, from musicians to poets, comedians, interviews with local businesses that have adapted during this crisis, those working on the front lines to keep everybody safe and well. We have mental health and wellness discussions. We have video content from various sponsors. We have kitten cams and tarantulas. We have a wide assortment of visual art, poetry, you name it. It's going to be on there, and it's going to do the most important thing, which is raise funding for artists who have lost their employment and have been deeply affected by the COVID-19 crisis. And I think that's good enough reason to tune in.
Me too.
Definitely.
That would convince me. Especially when you said tarantulas, I was like, "What? Tarantulas?"
I can
Oh,
think.
the tarantulas are there.
Oh my.
Rob's gone.
All right, give me a second.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, is he
Oh
connecting
yeah,
the intro?
just give it a second. It happens.
He's live from
That's
the
why I
bottom
was
of my
like, there's
keyboard.
going to be 2 answers to this. Anybody who ever watches is aware.
Yo, I'm with Kelly. Kelly said you had me at tarantulas. I'm with Kelly on
Yeah.
that one.
Well,
I know. I should really start opening with the tarantulas.
Well, I have
You
another
want
way that
spiders?
might
We got
convince you.
spiders.
We got something else as well.
Oh, I can only imagine. There it is.
Hello! My name is Dabbly Dabberston. I am the Dabbin Broadcasted Skeleton. If you would like to come down to the greatest experience of your young and pleasurable lives, you should consider joining us for the VBT COVID-19 Relief Fundraiser. Just take it from me, I have no skin and bones, and yet I am still showing up for the contest. It's going to be fun, artists of all kinds of broadcasters, people doing tons of things. It's great and wonderful. So come on down. Bring your kids, bring your family, bring the elderly, bring the people who have just died. Look at me. I'm not even alive, and I'm still dabbing myself into this. Yay! That's it.
Love it. Fantastic. If that didn't convince you enough, I don't.
I was going to say, if that doesn't convince you, don't come, honestly.
We don't.
You can still donate. You just can't come.
Like the person is gonna donate, and you're gonna refund it.
Still send Arlie World your money because they need it, but please
Oh, I
don't.
was gonna say, well, you're not gonna refund it.
No, send
No,
Arlie
sure.
World your money because they need it, but we don't want you there.
Donate your money, but then just.
And if they didn't like Dabby, we didn't want them there, but we still wanted them to donate money.
Yo, Kelly just asked if Dabby has a Tinder.
Look at him. He's just chilling all the time, constantly dabbing. That's thank you.
Constantly jabbing, yeah. We're so tired.
Oh man.
Who let the people who haven't slept in 3 weeks drink 1 beer?
Yeah, sorry.
We did.
That was my.
That was a bad idea.
Take
1 beer.
responsibility.
That's all right.
I take
We all got our
responsibility
beers.
for my own success.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on here tonight.
Yeah, this was so much fun.
This was a lot
I'm
of
gonna be
fun.
honest. I needed this. Like, we're shot. We've been working really hard. Yesterday, Wednesday is our longest, toughest day of the week. Tuesday nights are always rough, and the Thursday after the open mic is always exhausting, and we didn't get to take as easy of a day on Thursday as we usually do, because we don't have time, because we got 9 days left until this fundraiser, and we really don't sleep, and we were really, 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 really shot, like, understatement of the year. You watched us last night. We were just descending. It was bad.
And we're here like, oh, why don't you just drink a couple of beers and interpret this modern art for us?
No, honestly, this is the best thing I think I could have done today because I was shot, and we still have work to do. Like, as soon as we hop off of this, we have 3 sound checks and 2 meetings.
Me too.
We're not done. So we respect it, and we're really grateful because this was a lot of fun, and it definitely lifted my spirits.
Cool. Me too. I had a lot of fun. I really, really did. This was a lot of fun.
I'm good.
I had a stressful day, so this is a nice little change of pace for my day.
Nice.
Glad I could entertain y'all with my wiki. What is it? What is it? Who is it? What's the name of the game? Fuck, I need to scroll up.
Wiki power.
Tell you, friend. Oh, what the how?
What the how?
What the how? I definitely want to do more of those. I think those are fun. I just need to find. There was another one that I want to do that was how to run like evangelical Christianism in your town.
Oh, like the Wikihow? That's
yeah. It was like how to be like an evangelical.
I would have
Christian.
never got that one. I would have never figured that out.
Let's start from the beginning. Step number 1: make sure that your population does not educate themselves well. It's very important because if you do that, then not. Thank you all. We really, really appreciate you having us on for the show. Like, it really, really has been such a pleasure. You both are like you do so much for the music community everywhere, and I've had a blast, and I'm sure everybody who's watching has also had a blast, and I'm sure you will have a blast for many, many years to come.
Oh yeah.
Forever and ever.
Thank you for the support and for having us out. This was great.
Of course. Before we go, if you guys want to plug websites, socials, any of that.
Everything. I mean, VBT.org is our answer to everything. Like, literally, you can find all the info on the fundraiser. You can find info on the wellness broadcast that we are doing tomorrow with Movers Health and Paul Vibes. And it's a hub. It has a community events calendar, so you can see what everybody else is up to, and you can submit your own events if you'd like them included on the calendar as well. So vbtlive.org is definitely the main answer, but you can also find us on all the social media platforms at...
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I just saw someone say, "We run for God."
That's fine. I'm definitely watching the chat. Even though I know I'm not running the stream, I still compulsively watch the chat.
You're like plugging your info, and I just see "We run for God."
Run for God. I'll drop our vbtlive.org into the chat for anyone who's watching.
And you can follow us on all platforms.
All the social media.
At VBT
Live
across YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook.
We're going to get a MySpace.
You won't probably follow us on MySpace, but it will exist.
It'll exist.
Match with them on Tinder. Do it all.
Yeah. There we go.
Find them on Tinder.
Oh, Gabby can get a Tinder profile. That's perfect.
Yes. Yeah, honestly, no. I would love to get Gabby a Tinder profile.
Gabby's getting Tinder profile. Good. That's the takeaway from this.
Yeah. Can you make videos on Tinder as like your thing?
Can you upload small videos?
I think after people started sending
idea.
they kind of just like stopped that. But I mean, you can try. We'll see.
We'll look into it.
Cool. All right. And on that note, now that we're going into, thank you guys very much.
This is not safe for children.
Not safe.
No.
Thank you.
Bye.
Until next time.
Bye.